Welcome everyone to episode 6 of JourneyCast.
Woo, episode 6.
Episode 6. Today we got a guest with us. Do you prefer Nate or Nathan?
Doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
It just seems like when I was younger and kind of in university ages, everyone called me Nate.
Right.
And then now it's more Nathan, and I refer to myself as Nathan, and my wife has only ever called me Nathan. So
okay.
I don't know.
So
It
you're more
doesn't
of a
matter.
Nathan
Very adult
nowadays.
now.
I guess I'm more of
Yeah.
a Nathan, more
Yeah.
distinguished.
Yeah. Nathan Coehoorn,
Sure.
who is here, and you work a kind of a general contracting company with your dad, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he built greenhouses, which
Yeah,
is
that's-
kind of an interesting niche.
Right.
Yeah.
I was just going to say that's kind of our niche. We do, decent sized commercial greenhouse construction.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But before that,
Yeah, tell us about
for
you.
a while, you were a football player.
I was.
Yes.
Yeah.
American
I-
football, I should say. I guess.
American
Yeah,
football
Yeah.
for all you European listeners.
Yes.
I grew up playing lots of sports.
Mm-hmm.
God gifted me athletically. 4 boys in our family, so we were always playing like tons of sports.
Right.
I grew up playing baseball. I didn't start playing football till grade 10,
Right.
because both my older brothers did, and it was a kind of legal way to hit people and not get in trouble. So yeah, it's kind of, we were always playing front yard football, backyard basketball. I grew up in the greenhouse Dutch area in Redcliffe, so we
Right.
were all like this neighborhood of like big families, and we'd always get together and play all these sports. So yeah, that's kind of my upbringing with sports.
Yeah. And then you took that, and how do you make a career out of that? How
You
did you
must not have been terrible
Yeah.
at it.
Yeah, you must have been pretty good to get that was the CFL, right?
That was
Yeah.
the CFL.
Yeah.
Doesn't stand for Cash Flow League. Hence why I'm working the next day after I retired.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was always like a pretty explosive type of athlete, like kind of fast muscle twitch, that kind of like I could slam dunk in grade 10 and like just that kind of stuff. Like I was explosive, and I always was like winning high jump and sprinting kind of growing up.
Right.
So that kind of, as soon as I got into football, and there's people trying to run after you full speed and kind of take your head off or whatever, tackle you.
Yeah.
My speed definitely helped me kind of excel, and just being a younger brother, 2 older brothers, 1 younger, just that kind of toughness also helped. So football, I played baseball growing up, but once I started playing football, it kind of became a natural fit for me, just the physical side and the speed side. Growing up, whenever I be with my mom filling out those like books or whatever, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I'd always say police officer and professional athlete. Like those are kind of my dream things.
Right.
Some people want to be astronauts or whatever. Those are my things. So
Firefighter.
yeah, just whatever. Everyone has their dreams. So and it's kind of just a dream as a little kid. And you watch professional sports, and in Canada we grew up watching CFL, and I really watched the CFL. I really, followed some receivers like Milt Stegall and those type of names. And, it just seems like such a faraway dream.
Right.
And, as you're, long story short, as I get older and get bigger, and, I was blessed with pretty good genetics for maybe not looks, but for size and speed I was. So that definitely helped me get noticed. And, I had a lot of, ups and downs and struggles and stuff in between there in my personal life. But, God given me a gift of athleticism, and long story short, I ended up, getting drafted and ended up in the CFL. And, it was cool to, I remember running out of the tunnel my first game, and, it's like my 5-year-old dream. And, now there's 40,000 people just like cheering, not for just me, but like for the whole team. And, my name is announced in the starting lineup. It was pretty surreal. I remember that. That'll be a special moment I'll always remember.
Right. You've achieved it. Mm-hmm. How old were you when you got drafted to the, it was Edmonton Eskimos, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Now known as the Edmonton Elks.
Yep.
How old were you?
24, I think.
24.
That's a little bit older than normal.
Right.
Coming out of high school, I wasn't as mature as most some high schoolers should be.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Yeah. Anyway, I I didn't have my head screwed on right to kind of follow the right path. I probably should have, that lots of people would, to get to the CFL. So I ended up playing 3 years of junior football, whereas some other people would go straight to university and then get drafted at 21 or 22. So yeah, I played 3 years of junior football, and then 4 years of university, and then that's why I was a 24-year-old rookie in the CFL.
Tell us, how did that, like, I imagine when you're in high school and you've got that sort of, your identity's attached to that, right? Like, was it for you, your identity attached to your athleticism?
Sure.
I mean, that's kind of a bit of your story throughout your life, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And so, like, what was what was that like for you in high school?
It didn't start out as it being attached to me. But like, I went to a Christian school from kindergarten to grade 9.
Yeah.
We saw your photo.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I was telling you about that, yeah.
Hawaiian shirt. And didn't I have bleached hair or something? Or
I think so.
or something like that. Anyway.
Yeah, we had a youth pastor meeting at the Christian school, and you can find Nathan Coehoorn on the on the wall there somewhere if you look.
So I went to Christian school till grade 9. So I was kind of like in a Christian kind of bubble. Like, I went to church, had my Christian family, went to the Christian school, went to my youth group and all that. My faith really never got, looking back, it never really got tested. So I guess, which would mean I never developed I never really developed a foundation.
Right. Because there's no reason for it.
There was no reason. Nothing was,
for you anyways.
Nothing was really hard. I know there's there's a lot of hard things that happen in junior high, but again, I was kind of in this little bubble where it was almost like I was protected, and the only time I would kind of see the world is when I would play on like sports teams, like the summer baseball league, or like the traveling team or whatever. Then you're going down into Montana and whatever with your team, and you're on long bus trips with them, and you kind of see that. But then I go back and I'm in my Christian bubble, and, kind of comfortable.
Yeah.
So then I went to high school. Both of my older brothers went to Medicine Hat High, so I followed their footsteps there. And then now, like, all of a sudden the world's just like, boom, like in your face, and like tons of students, tons of pressures every day. There's fights, there's smoking, there's drinking, there's drugs, just all in your face. So yeah, that was intense. And yeah, like I said earlier, I was blessed athletically. So without me having a strong foundation, I didn't really know what my identity was. I didn't know I was a child of God then. I didn't know what like being saved by grace meant. So it wasn't like 100% real to me. It was kind of still like,
it's kind of just book knowledge of like, oh yeah, he died on the cross for me. Your parents took you to church.
It was like, I'm like a Christian because my parents say this I'm supposed to do. My teacher, my pastor, and
it's like been pretty good so far, so I'll just keep doing what I'm doing,
Exactly. And then all of a sudden, all the pressures, I started to get bullied a bit, the new kid, I was trying out for sports teams, and I guess maybe I was a little bit intimidating because I was, I would excel on the team and stuff, and maybe that kind of led to bullying and all that. So it got to the point where I just like couldn't handle it, and I started kind of deviating my path and kind of joining the world type of scene. And then that kind of ties back into sports. That's when in grade 10 it kind of was like a bullying kind of grade, and grade 11 I kind of made that turn towards the dark side, if you could say.
Sometimes that goes hand in hand, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then I started to get bigger and stronger and all that, and started to get a little bit more responsibility on the football and baseball teams. And now grade 11 and 12 went from me kind of getting bullied as like a little kind of 150-pound rookie or whatever to like, oh, that was a nice touchdown you had on the weekend, or that was a nice hit you had, or good home run, or what, you know what I mean, whatever it was. And so
you're like, if I want to be accepted here, I have to perform.
Yeah, it kind of, in a way, it came to that, and performing almost came naturally in a way, like just with the responsibility the coaches gave me and stuff like that. So then I kind of, that kind of became my identity, and that became my acceptance. It was my sports and my athleticism. And
Nathan's cool because he plays football and he's pretty decent at it. Yeah. Not just because he's a decent guy, like it was all attached to that.
Yeah. So I started walking the halls, instead of being kind of anxious and scared, I was kind of starting to be that ego and that pride.
Did you have like one of those walks?
Oh, probably.
The swagger.
Oh, probably. I'm sure there's a lot of people who have
Like
a
the
lot
leather,
of.
what do you call those like sports jackets with like,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
the greased back hair.
Make way.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was turning into not being a nice person.
Yeah.
And then, it started to just become my identity, and it started to take me down a pretty dark path.
So then what would be your advice to people who are experiencing something similar, like to any of our students listening?
Yeah, like that's definitely a tough age. I would look back and say that's one of the hardest 3 years of my life. Just because there's just so much change happening in your life, and there's just so much, everything is, on acceptance and, looking cool and all that popularity stuff.
Peer pressure.
I would probably say just reach out, step out of your comfort zone. I felt like I was alone. I felt like I didn't have a support group, but there was groups even at Hat High, Christian groups that gathered. I don't know. I guess my identity got so messed up that I thought I was too cool, or I didn't want to be seen with them, because then I get made fun of. But I would say,
and also building that foundation. I mean, that's a part of that, right? You didn't have that foundation, but it's still important to have.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess my big advice to answer your question would be just step out of your comfort zone. Look for a positive group of people that will actually support you in what your true identity is, not with what your fake, self-conscious identity is.
Right.
So, accepting you for who you are.
Yeah.
So then you went to, did you play football in university, or how did that affect? Was that where were you at that point in your journey with God? Were you still kind of just living for yourself, or
going into university, or kind of coming out of high school?
Yeah, I guess coming out of high school then. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I'll try not to go too long of a story here, but
we got time.
Yeah. But coming out of high school, both my brothers had made Team Alberta. They were both Team Alberta for football. It's kind of the all-star.
This was genetic.
It was. They were both really good. And I was, technically supposed to be one of the better Coehoorn brothers.
Oh, okay.
But long story, I didn't make the team. I didn't. I had a bad Team South game. And I don't know if politics were involved. Anyway, I didn't make the team. So that was kind of a big bummer to me, because I was supposed. It was my identity, right?
Yeah.
I was supposed to be this top player in Canada, and I couldn't even make Team Alberta.
Wow.
So that was crushing. And then I guess that probably, with my grades not being super good, and that kind of led to me not getting as much looks in the college scene. So then, again, I just had no clue what I wanted to do with my life. I was always kind of business minded and entrepreneurial minded, but I had this gift, so I kind of wanted to pursue it. So that took me to junior football. Played 3 years of junior football. You don't have to go to university to play it. You can kind of just, I don't know, hang on and float around basically, and maybe upgrade or kind of do those things. So that's when I started to get into the big city scene, Calgary and Kelowna. And I started to get involved with, that's when the partying and the drugs and the drinking and all that stuff. I thought that was going to help me get accepted too, if I was the, top cool partier and, and trying to find the best looking girl, and just all that kind of stuff was just kind of, getting really, I don't know. I was just going down a really dark path. Somehow snuck my way into University of Calgary. The coach really wanted me there. Both my brothers actually both went to University of Calgary as well. So we had a decent, I don't know if is lineage the right word?
Yeah, that
lineage.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
My vocabulary is not usually that
Which
good.
can go either way, really. It could be another one of those.
Well, I probably wrecked our lineage. So I got in there, and this was the first coach in my life that didn't put up with crap. He didn't care how good you were. He was a really well-known coach. He wanted to have a team of people with good character. So actually, before I ever, which is huge in all parts of life. So before I actually even played a game on the University of Calgary, I actually got cut, I think 2 or 3 times, because just me doing stupid things in the off season and, just doing immature stuff. So that really helped me kind of mold me in my football way, football character, but I still was kind of messed up with my faith.
Right.
So that kind of helped me get on the right path, and,
A little more mature, responsible.
for sure, and dedicated to like football.
How did that feel at the moment though? Like you were probably like, oh dude, like this doesn't matter. Like if I can play well, what does that matter?
That's what I thought.
Look at how good I am.
Yeah. So I got cut in that off season before I even played, and then I worked my way back up to main camp. I actually was named a starter as a rookie. I was a 3-year-old out of high school rookie, but I was named a starter. So all my brothers are pretty pumped because they went through this. They're like, "Oh, he's already starting at receiver his first game." Yeah. My very first game in Abbotsford, I was with the team starter. I was going to be like part of the huge game plan. I actually, this is again kind of how I thought I could just do whatever I wanted. I thought I could get away with anything I wanted. I was Nate Coehoorn. I was the man. Like that's kind of how I walked around. I went into Safeway before the game with our team, and I just stole some stuff, just put it in my pocket and walked out. I was like, I'm not going to get caught. Boom. I got caught by a secret shopper, which was a very good thing that happened to me. My coach ended up suspending. He came into my hotel room, just like this big 6'6", like 300-pound coach, big guy. Boom, boom, boom on my hotel door. And I'm like, oh no, because I knew he didn't put up with anything. Anyway, he ended up suspending me for 2 games. So I sat in Vancouver or Abbotsford with my family who had flown out.
Oh,
I watched someone else play my position with my family in the stands.
Oh.
So talk about just
harsh life lessons.
Oh, yeah.
What did you, I mean, that probably felt horrible in the moment, but what were the things you were thinking about, like, as that's happening? Like, what did you, like, take away in that moment? What did you take away from that?
I was like, I am never going to do this stuff again. Yeah. Like, I'm never going to screw up that way again for football.
Right.
You know, I still didn't have my faith foundation, but I was like, there's no way, like, just watching someone run the plays that I had just ran for like 2 weeks straight, trying to make myself a starter, it was just like gut wrenching. Yeah. And then my parents paid for flights, so I'm sitting there with them. So it's like,
they're probably mad at you too.
Shame, you know?
Yeah.
So it's a pivotal moment in life.
For sure.
Yeah.
Shift there.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think your ego played a role in that, like making that choice to like shoplift there?
100%. Yeah. 100%.
And then like after, did that humble you a bit or?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, and there was a lot of other things in that year. I think that was 2008 that was happening in my life where it was kind of like, that was like a kind of crossroads. Like I ended up actually getting a criminal record that year from a different thing. Like yeah. And anyway, so that all in that same year within like 3 months. Yeah. And just my life was just going downhill fast. All of a sudden I couldn't get away with what I was doing. I couldn't do whatever I wanted. I wasn't invincible. Like it was kind of like that crossroad moment for football. Yeah. Are you going to listen and behave, or are you going to basically never play football again and have your dream crushed? Yeah. Kind of that.
Yeah. Just because you think you're untouchable.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
So you had to make a choice.
I had to make a choice for my character in that way for football, for sure. Yeah.
So this is all before you're in the CFL, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So then how did you make your way there? Like obviously those choices and being more integral and as a football player like that, having more integrity obviously helped get you to that point then, hey?
Oh yeah, for sure. That really straightened me out for like just my grades, my, showing up early, just like all my leadership kind of character qualities, like showing up early to workouts, being at the front of the line in football, and just dedicating myself to like my diet, just my
toning down your ego a bit,
all that stuff.
Do you have to drink raw eggs?
I think I did. I think I mixed those in my smoothie. I think I actually didn't think I did mix those in my smoothie. I thought I had to be this big, huge, strong athlete, but I probably anyway. You don't have to be all this big macho man to play wide receiver. You can be small and fast.
Yeah, just fast. Yeah.
Yeah, but then I really started to progress. Our team was very good. I played in 2 national championships in university. I bought into my coach. Coach Nil is his name. I bought into his system. Again, just Foley was on board. And, then we had, like I said, we had a really good team. So we had lots of professional scouts coming to our practices, which was cool. And all of a sudden, I had, like in my 3rd and 4th year, I was named a first team All-Canadian. So one of the top 4 receivers in like all of Canada for university. Wow. So that was pretty cool. And, I was kind of thinking, I actually remember I wasn't fully, my life wasn't back with God then, but I still remember like thinking like, okay, I got my character kind of dialed in. There's obviously something to this. And, you know, like the agents and the scouts were calling, and I was starting to be projected on draft boards, and, you know, but still behind the scenes, my ego and my party life and my, you know, still thinking I was, you know, God's gift to creation was still kind of, it was definitely there, you know, partying and all that stuff. Just when I was on the football field, I was dialed into what my coach was telling me.
Right. So you got drafted. And then what?
So
That's a good question.
I got, but yeah, I don't know how you want to flow this, but
Yeah.
I kind of recommitted my life to God in there.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
okay.
So,
Yeah,
but
what
then
started
I got,
that?
So that kind of ties into me kind of getting drafted and kind of getting into the CFL, because it was just perfect God's timing that I recommitted and surrendered my life to God about 5 months before I got drafted.
Yeah, how did you get there? I want to hear about that.
Yeah.
So I just, like I said, when my football career was, you know, starting to take off, and I was starting to buy into the system, but I was still, you know, I was living in Calgary. I was still living the kind of big city life, and, you know, we'd be going downtown and just partying and just getting, and I would always, my character is not my character, my personality is kind of 110% into something, or I won't do it. So it can hurt me or it can help me. And it has hurt me and it has helped me. So anyway, anytime we would party, I would be like, thought I had to be like I was on the football field, like the top kind of go-to guy. So I'd be trying to, you know, be the life of the party, try to, you know, show my buddies I could get the best looking girl, and just all that stuff. And, you know, in the big city life, it kind of got into drugs and stuff too. So I was starting to do like heavy drugs. I was like, not just like marijuana, I was starting to get into like cocaine and ecstasy. And that was like a weekend thing, like just normal.
Yeah.
Because it was weird. I was like just with this group of friends, and we were like really excelling in our athletic lives, but we were all just together, and it just got to the point where, you know, just like the saying, bad company ruins good character. And, you know, it was just what we did every weekend. We went and did drugs and, you know, went and partied. And like I said, that kind of led up from grade 11 all the way till my fourth year of university, which was my draft year. And I remember around, I think it was New Year's. Yeah. It was New Year's, the New Year's before I got drafted in May. And I just like got to the point where I was just, when you're hungover or you're coming off drugs, you're really depressed.
Right. Really thinking about life. And you're just like, it's just so depressing. It's such a bad feeling. So that was, you know, it was New Year's. So I had a really, you know, rough couple of days there for sure, going pretty hard. And, trying to just think of everything that happened back then. Cause, I just woke up and just like, I was like, is this really like what life is? Like just reaching for water to try to hydrate myself so I can be ready for the next night, and just laying in bed playing Halo all day just so I could at 5 p.m. start having another drink, or, you know what I mean? Like that's kind of what my life was. And I was like, there has to be more to life than this. And, you know, growing up in my godly home, like, you know, going home for Christmas and all that, my parents, they'd be praying for us boys and they'd be wanting us to come back. And I remember my mom gave me a devotional that Christmas. It was, like I still have it. And it's just like this little like standard devotional, like just whatever. But I remember it was just like, you know, I'd open it, and cause I was like just depressed, and I just wanted, I don't know. I was like I was searching, you know, and God was coming after me. I just really like open it up, and it's just like just a little Bible verse, a little blurb, and then a little prayer, some keywords or whatever. And it would just be like, boom, boom, every single day. Just, it was just wrecking me. Yeah. So I was just like sitting there just reading these, and I was just like, oh, like just breaking me down and just building me up. And yeah, that was just powerful. And, you know, during that, my older brother had recommitted his life to God, and he kept trying to get me to come out to church. I ended up, you know, going to the church that he was going to. And at this point I was at like the top of my, you know, I was the man. I was talking to a couple NFL scouts. I was projected to be a first rounder. I was the man, I should say.
I was projected to be a first round pick in the CFL. I thought I had a Chuck Liddell mohawk back then, shaved head Chuck. I don't know if everybody knows who Chuck Liddell is. He's one of the first kind of UFC fighters. So I thought I was like this big tough guy. So I went to church like that. I had a big mohawk, and the pastor was just like this really outgoing pastor. His name's Pastor Joel from Mountain Springs Calvary Chapel. Just really outgoing and just so positive and just full of life. And I remember, obviously, I'm sure my brother Corey had been talking to him that I was trying to get me to come out there. Yeah. Right after church, he comes like right up to me, and because I'm with Corey, and he just starts like talking to me, and he's just like, you know, it's obviously like if someone's full of joy and peace, you kind of want to gravitate to that conversation. So, you know, it doesn't matter how prideful I was still like, oh yeah, like just totally engaged with him. Yeah. And that was kind of the start of our building a relationship. And, you know, we started going for coffees and just meeting, you know, it was just a positive guy. I was like, why does this guy like love me? Yeah. And like, just why does he want to hang out with me so much and help me?
Just didn't make sense.
It didn't make sense. Like, but again, I just kept, you know, I kept going.
That's the culture that you've built, or that had been built around you, right? Mm-hmm. Is like you had to perform and do these things to get attention.
But if you're not performing, why? Yeah.
And this guy's just doing it just cause.
He was just showing me grace. That's the word. I just like that's what I didn't understand growing up. I thought faith was all about religion and trying to be perfect and trying not to sin. Yeah, I didn't understand the concept of grace. Like, you know, and he was huge on grace. And he kept saying like, it's like, cause I knew the stuff I did. Like I knew what I was doing, and me and God knew. Lots of people probably didn't know what I was doing in private or what I was looking at or what I was, you know, all that stuff. But I did. And, you know, Jesus died for that.
Yeah.
So once that really, I really grasped that
it clicked for you.
Yeah, that someone would love me so much and just forgive me like that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that was so powerful to me. And you know, I got to the point where I just completely laid it all down and just, you know, I just repented.
All right.
And that's kind of where it all started. And that's the main thing. I think you got to repent. And you just got to know you're forgiven. And once I understood that, and once I understood grace, and, you know, obviously with mentorship from him, Pastor Joel, and just all that just helped me. And I just left all my old friends.
That was probably tough though, hey?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But
did they have a lot of questions about that? About why? Or
yeah, there was definitely like people like, oh, what's he doing? Why is he not coming out this weekend? There's a lot of that. But I just I was just so filled up with joy. It didn't matter.
Yeah.
And
I didn't want
to go
anymore.
back. Yeah. No way.
Yeah.
I found like I actually found what my true identity was. And yeah, there was no looking back, because that was the first time in my life that my faith was real for me, and I understood grace. It's not about, you're not saved by works, you're saved by grace.
Yep.
Yeah. I saw something the other day that and I feel like this ties into this a bit. It was like someone was saying, it was like, it's your faith in Jesus that saves you, and it's not. It's God's love for you that saves you, you know? Well, I mean, it's your belief in him, but his love for you. It's not your works.
No, we can never achieve that for ourselves.
Like how much I trust him that's saving me. It's that you've just given your life to him and, you know, declared that Jesus is Lord. Like that's all it is.
Yep.
And he loves you. And and there's nothing that you can do that will change his love for you. But you just have to accept it.
Exactly. It's all
Which is so weird. Like
I know.
It's like, but don't I have to do something first? No.
Or you don't know what I've done.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I think we get stuck
or
there
what
too.
I've done is unforgivable.
Yep.
You know what I've done, but it's unforgivable.
Yeah, Jesus will forgive all those other things.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it just was, just surrender. Surrender, repent, and grace. Those words were just huge to me, those three words. And identity. And just changed the course of my life. Like totally was perfect timing, because then, you know, I was just fully I realized that God had put me in a place to do big things with football, but now I just gave it to him.
Right.
And then what happened?
Then you got drafted.
Yeah, I was like projected to get drafted, and but it was I got to the point where it was like I didn't need football. You know what I mean? I wanted to.
You could do it, but you weren't relying on it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I wanted to give God glory through my platform of football. That's what it became. It was like, hey, I want to like get interviewed so I can just talk about God.
Yeah.
Like I just wanted to have a platform, and I did. I had so many opportunities to speak, and it was just crazy what God did. But yeah, that year, just kind of growing with God, and just full on, just on fire, filled with the Spirit, just pumped up for Jesus. And then I get drafted 5th overall, first round to the Eskimos, and all the struggles and with pride and ego and all that stuff gets like magnified by like 100-fold when you go to a professional sport. So it was perfect timing that I found out what my true identity was, because all the stuff that happens there, and people catering to you, and just like the fantasy lifestyle,
Right.
Can really go to your head fast.
Right. What were some of the things you were able to do in that, like now being saved and realizing who you are? What were some of the things that you were able to, I'm trying to say, like the influence you had in the locker room with those other guys,
When
what
you're
opportunities did you have?
when you're doing interviews even and speaking the name of Jesus, how did that go for you? Did people like that? Reject
Pull the mic away from you.
It was weird because I didn't know any of these guys. Like they only knew me as Nate the Christian. They didn't know
Right.
me as Nate this like drug addict partier, and because lots of those guys were like that, so I probably would have fit in really good with them.
Right.
They didn't know me as that, so it was kind of like it was almost like a fresh start. Like I could, right when I got onto the team, I joined like the Christian Athletes in Action like group. So
Right.
Awesome.
yeah, so like I was already just like plugged right into the Christian scene, and I already like kind of was standing alone. You know what I mean? So it was good in a way to have a fresh start right when I kind of did that as a newly recommitted Christian. So yeah, that's just all those guys just knew me as that. And, every now and then, I'd run into guys on other teams that I'd played with in university, and they knew me, like they knew old me.
Yeah.
And, they could just see like transformation and life
Right.
and light. And, they're like, oh, what's
Something
like,
has happened to you.
Something's happened. Yeah.
Yeah. What are you taking?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's called Jesus.
Yeah, it's called Jesus. You should get
Yeah.
some.
Yeah. It's free and legal.
Yeah, so that part was kind of cool. And then, just the word getting around that I was a, local-ish, from
Yep.
Alberta, Christian professional athlete. I started to get lots of opportunities to speak to men's groups and youth groups.
Well, I
and
think you even came here while
churches.
you were
Yeah,
on the
I did.
team.
Yeah.
I remember there was like, oh yeah, Nathan Coehoorn from the Edmonton Eskimos is coming. I'm like, oh, I don't watch football. Like, that's cool though that he's a Christian and he's in professional sports.
Yeah.
Good for him. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, Nathan, who are you now? Who is Nathan Coehoorn? Who was he? To yourself, what did you think you are?
Should we talk about your retirement
And-
from it?
yeah,
then?
oh, yeah,
Yeah.
sure,
Like, because that's part of it, right? Like that would be a
Sure.
transition
Yeah.
piece from this is who I am to
Yeah. Well, retirement, like professional career wise, I retired. We won the Grey Cup in 2015, which was awesome. I wanted to do that in my career. And then I retired after the next season, after 2016. So I played 6 years, and I was able to retire on my own terms, pretty much injury free. So that was
Nice.
kind of always what I wanted to do. I was 30 years old. I knew I wanted to retire early-ish, so I would have an opportunity to build something before I was 40 or 45.
Right.
So because
Have a
CFL
family
doesn't
and
stand
stuff.
for cash flow league. It stands for cash for less.
Yes.
So then, I kind of went back to, how I grew up with, kind of business and entrepreneurial mindseted, and,
Right.
Teamed up with my dad. And
Yeah.
Was that a hard transition or an easy transition?
the actual decision to retire was very hard because, without giving out numbers, I gave up decent amount of money. I went to below half of what I was making in 2017. So just like following, that was probably the biggest step more, I'm trying to think of the right words, but just
Biggest change.
and just biggest follow what God's kind of calling you to do kind of thing in my life, and just to be bold. I remember just like being awake all night and just in Edmonton staying like, am I doing the right thing? Like, cause I had like 2 more years on my contract of like 6-figure like contract. And like, you know, I probably could have played for 4 or 5 more years after that too. So I probably still would have, like, I'm 36 turning, I probably could have still been like hanging on by a thread in the CFL.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was crazy. But you know, we just had our first daughter back then, and I wanted to.
So you married a nice girl?
I married a great girl. That's probably another story for another episode. My whole, because there's a lot.
He's willing to come back already.
That's great.
There was a lot of crazy things that happened in my life after I was recommitted my life to God. Just because you have recommitted and you're full on with God doesn't mean that it's always going to be roses. You're still
and lollipops. Get tempted with other things.
Oh, you're going to get tempted, and you're going to have bad stuff happens to good people all the time. But it's how you respond to that. And when you have, you know, Jesus as your foundation, you can respond pretty well. And if you have a good support group around you, you can, you know, respond to those trials a lot better than what I normally would have done in certain things that happened in my life. But then I got, you know, that was hard moving back here. But you know, looking back now, we're around tons of family. I have 4 kids. My oldest, I have a girl and 3 boys. My oldest is a girl, and she was born 4 days after we won the Grey Cup.
Wow!
And I always felt I was supposed to call my first daughter that I had Grace. So her name's Grace, but it's spelled Greyce because
like
she was born Grey Cup. Yeah. So that's why. So that's a pretty cool little story. But now just construction life and raising a family and beautiful Medicine Hat. And it's a great place to raise a family. And, but life still has definitely ups and downs, and for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's something too, you know, like in our youth group anyway, we're kind of like talking about right now is that foundation, that firm foundation that God is like, can be there for you through these storms. Yeah. It's not a matter of if the storm will come. It's a matter of when and where have you planted yourself?
Yep. Exactly.
Where have you built yourself on? And so that's just cool to see that. Like, it's like you realize that you needed that foundation. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So what? Yeah. Again, I guess I could say what was. As you look back now, what is some advice you could give to these kids that maybe have their identity wrapped up in something that is not from God,
or could be taken away quickly?
Yeah, exactly. You know, I think we interviewed you for a video one time, and you're talking about like there's this guy in the locker room, he's got a torn ACL. Now who is he now?
Exactly.
Like, well, who are you? You know, like if you broke both your legs in a car accident, who would have you been if you were in university football? Like,
oh yeah, exactly.
You know,
I remember talking about that, and you know, you go into these locker rooms, and these guys that you see on these billboards, and you know, they're guys that I grew up watching play on TV and stuff, and some of those superstar players, like I would see them get hurt bad, and they would be out for like 10 months, and maybe not have the opportunity to play ever again. And like that was their identity. Their identity was like, I'm all over Edmonton billboards. I'm making this much money. I score this many touchdowns. Like that's their identity. And I just seen them just kind of just go into these like dark spaces, and like they just don't. Yeah, I don't know.
Because like, who am I?
Yeah, they have their identity is I am this person, the football player who's on these billboards, and all of a sudden I'm not there. I'm not scoring these touchdowns. Who am I? Like, who am I? Like, you know, they had nothing to fall back on. So that's why it's, you know, identity is a huge, important thing in my life, because, you know, you can be really good athletically or career wise, or, you know, you can do all these crazy things, and you can have this beautiful family, and all this stuff can be taken from you like that.
Yeah.
And I finally figured out, you know, about 10 years ago, that the only thing that can't be taken away from me is my identity in Jesus, you know, and Jesus is my relationship with Jesus. So that is like, if you really think about it, that's the only thing that can't be taken from you tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. I think, building your firm foundation. Like, so what were some of the practical things that you did to build that foundation? Like, obviously you're meeting with this pastor. That's great that he's doing that and helping you. But what were some of the choices that you had to do on your own? Like, what were some of the practicals that you're doing to help build that foundation after you recommitted
and maybe
your
continue to do now?
That you can encourage and challenge our listeners to do.
Well, I would love to say that I did something consistently for the last 10 years, but I didn't. My life has still gone through ups and downs, but I've always known what my foundation is, but I've gone through peaks and valleys and got closer to God and got farther away from God. But I would say, like, just being very intentional with prayer and devotion time. And even like I found when I write notes and, that helps me study the word and it really gets in me. I like to read books and, listen to podcasts whenever I can. And, again, take notes, because sometimes you can just be, reading and, it's like, whoa, I just read 10 pages, but what did I read?
Yeah.
So take like points like that. And, obviously you do not want to be alone, because the enemy loves to just devour people who are just by themselves and, in their minds and stuff. So you got to be connected. You got to be connected to a group or a, small group or a youth group or church or some type of, Christian network. Otherwise you're going to get just stomped on fast. And, it kind of goes back to my high school thing. Just step out of your comfort zone. Like, you might be scared to go, like, because I'm kind of a introvert. So sometimes I've been self-conscious or scared to go, like, just put myself out there in certain situations. But when I actually do, like, that's when I get most, like, blessed and most, like, uplifted. I leave, like, if I go, even doing something like this, just talking about Jesus with people, like, it's just like you leave just feeling, like, very uplifted. And so when you think about going to that, invitation to go to that Christian lunch group at high school or that small group at Hillcrest, like, just go, like, just go check it out. Even if it's like, oh man, like, cause the enemy does not want you to go. So there's going to be a bazillion excuses not to go, but just go. Like, you're going to have fun. You're going to leave feeling peaceful and full of joy and rewarded. Like, I would say that's kind of just step out of your comfort zone.
Oh, absolutely.
Great answer.
Yeah. Nathan, thank you for your time. Thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you very much.
Hopefully, you guys can take away something from this. Appreciate
They're
you.
very interested in talking about dating. So if you wanted to come back, tell us your story there.
Oh,
Sure, they would be all over that.
A slippery slope, that one. For sure.
Absolutely.
Cool.
Okay. Thanks
Nathan. For having me.
Yeah.
Thank you.
See you guys.
Bye, guys.